hate to start out on such a sophomoric note, but that is a literal butt crack.
And here I thought that you were a literal butt crack. Guess you learn something new every day.
Easy Darwin reference is easy.
Okay, but I am failing to understand why this is a sin. Are you suggesting that a movie about an ancient giant lizard shouldn't reference our only explanation for the origin of species? I'm confused.
It's a well-known Hollywood rule that you can't make a Godzilla movie without putting some generic old-timey war footage behind the opening credits.
The reason this is a thing is because the idea of Godzilla was born out of the Japanese fear of nuclear weapons after the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Discount InGen.
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
Movie combines aliens and Jurassic Park, forces us to realize that this is like the 33rd Godzilla movie ever made, and, well, god damn it.
Seriously, what the f*** did that sentence even mean? You said that the movie combines aliens and Jurassic Park, and that forces you to realize this is the 33rd Godzilla movie? Does that make sense to anybody?
Oh yeah, we are about to see some Godzilla. Oh.
One of the major criticisms of this film is that Godzilla isn't in it much, and I won't argue with that. But did you seriously expect to see him in the first 10 minutes of the movie? For a channel called CinemaSins, you sure don't seem to do the cinema.
Alright, that's my man Bryan Cranston. He's the Sam Neill of this movie. He's going to guide us all the way through to the end because he's awesome. I sure hope the filmmakers don't pull the rug out from under me on this prediction.
This is a really disingenuous sin. You know Bryan won't be in the film much because you've seen it already, but you pretend to have not seen these films and give bogus sins like this and will later sin the film again when he dies in order to pad the sin count. You padding the sin count, bro? I think you're padding the sin count.
All right, let's make this quick.
That is exactly what Juliette Binoche says to me in my recurring dream.
That's cringy.
Keep the doors open, my wife is still in there!
Ugh. Don't do the thing because the someone is still in there cliche.
According to the DSM-5, Jeremy is a sociopath.
Thankfully for her in the audience, the radiation that is fast approaching her is doing so in a visible cloud-based form.
Except this isn't just radiation, it is also an explosion. What the hell do you think a mushroom cloud is?
Heroic teacher is the first one out when it comes to the classroom evacuation and leaves an army of abandoned children in her wake.
Hey man, it's easy to sit there in the comfort of your office chair and state that you would keep your cool and get the kids out first in a catastrophic event like this. But like Chris Tucker said,
when Godzilla's coming, y'all be tripping. I seen the movie. You be Gayaka, Gayaka!
Elizabeth Olsen isn't my army wife in this scene.
Cringe ex machina.
And son, you can't bury this in the past.
Wait, what? Not only is Ford completely reversing his position after a terrible speech and deciding to help his father, but dude, you are in the US military and you're about to go break the law in Japan. Think about your career.
So wait, Jeremy thinks guys in the military give a shit about breaking the law in Japan.
Mothra reference serves to remind you that Mothra will be playing the aptly named Sir Not appearing in this film.
It's called an Easter egg, Jeremy. Jesus.
That is not a transformer malfunction. That is an electromagnetic pulse.
I know Joe has been obsessed with this for years, but hasn't Dr. Serizawa also been studying this for at least 15 years and with way more information than Joe got to work with? How did he not figure that out?
So, are you implying that there's no way there are people in an organization that don't know something even though they have information readily available? You ever heard of Republicans and climate change?
It takes 35 minutes for Godzilla to show up in a, hey, that is not even Godzilla.
Jeremy points out things on the screen cliche.
He's still locked in the police van? They just abandon prisoners in times of crisis?
Yeah? Why the hell wouldn't they? You seriously think that in the midst of a giant monster attack, people's first thoughts would be, let me go free the guy that committed a crime, instead of getting the hell out of Dodge?
There he is. He's a rock, man. I can't wait until the end of this movie and he's standing on top of one of these creatures' heads and proclaiming victory. This movie's gonna ride that Bryan Cranston train the whole way. I can feel it.
Here's that bullshit from Sin 7 again. You padding the sin count, bro?
This historical footage contains more Godzilla than the actual movie.
Considering the historical footage is in the... You know what? Never mind.
We call him Gojira.
Roll credits.
Not that I mind the roll credits gag, but this scene deserved a sin off for using a Japanese actor and actually pronouncing Godzilla by his original name, Gojira.
And I'd probably let this LG product placement go without a sin if it wasn't for that stupid-ass curved phone.
I'd argue that a curved phone makes much more sense than a flat slab. You know, ergonomics and all. Besides, weren't all iPhones in 2014 curved anyway?
In case you confused it with Honolulu, Afghanistan.
Again, I don't mind this particular gag, but its use in this particular video is disingenuous considering this film also lists Lone Pine, California in this manner, which means that the film is simply being consistent.
Godzilla will now be the hero of this story after drowning countless Hawaiians and destroying this city.
This is kind of how most Godzilla stories go, though. Godzilla isn't altruistic, and he's very much an anti-hero.
The Muto's been around long enough to get on the local news, but word somehow didn't travel to this casino via Twitter, cell phone calls, police warnings, screaming assholes from the street, or anything that would normally happen in a situation like this.
Have you ever been to Vegas? If you've ever been to a casino, you'd know that the patrons inside don't give a damn about what's happening outside.
That's what you get for gambling, you bunch of degenerates.
Jeremy is Puritan.
Also, once again, movie delights in showing us the destruction, but almost none of the action that created it.
What is it here that you wanted to see? A giant monster walking through buildings? Haven't you seen Cloverfield?
Why does he swim so slowly that slow-ass aircraft carriers can keep up with him?
Godzilla's normal swimming speed was mentioned to be about 33 knots, which is the exact speed of an aircraft carrier. As for why he swims at this speed, he's very likely conserving energy.
August 6, 1945.
Hiroshima.
It was my father's.
That means you were born by August 6, 1945 then, right? Because your dad can't have died before he provided the sperm portion of you. So that makes you, in this modern set movie, a minimum of 69 years old, which is bullshit.
Well, it's not bullshit, because this is exactly what the film is saying. Ishiro was born in 1945 according to Godzilla Awakening, the graphic novel that serves as a prequel to this film. Japanese people are the longest-lived humans on Earth and regularly live well into their 80s and beyond. They look good for their age is what I'm saying.
It's 2014. This TV and these VHS tapes are a sin.
Not a sin of the film, though. Whoever lives here is probably a person that doesn't want to get with the times. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, considering this television clearly still works and is giving that person the information they wanted.
What the hell is this asshole doing? This is the problem with the needs nuclear waste to survive trait. She has no reason to stalk prey or hide or be a horror movie villain. She should just constantly be moving and looking for that sweet ass.
That's exactly what she's doing. The train has nuclear missiles on it, and she is stalking them looking for the nukes to consume.
Is it wrong that this makes me horny?
Roll cringes.
Honestly, I've seen this f***ing bridge destroyed in so many movies, I'd be surprised to go to San Francisco in real life and find it actually intact.
How is this any different from the previous sin of...
The Golden Gate Bridge is in some sort of danger cliché.
These sins say the exact same thing, that Hollywood has a penchant for showing and destroying famous landmarks in movies. We got it the first time you sinned it. This is just padding the sin count.
Did you just cut away from the action just as it was getting going again? Goddamn, you are the spitting image of my college ex.
Well, since we now know that your college ex-girlfriend was blowing Jarrett the Subway guy, we understand why she'd want to cut away from the action just as it was getting started. His sub was bigger than yours.
Was there not even one moment in the writing of this movie where someone stopped and said, "Hey, are we having the main character and the monsters conveniently show up in the same locations too many times?"
This wouldn't be one of those instances, though, considering the Mutos had been led to this spot, which caused Godzilla to track them here and consequently the military to show up, considering they were following Godzilla.
We're 27 mics!
How has only an hour passed since they started the countdown on the bomb? Lots has happened since then. We saw Elizabeth Olsen stay hot during the preamble to the creature fight. We saw the Mutos making babies. Blush. Ford asked about his wife and kid, and FEMA was an asshole like always. They planned the skydiving attempt. The moral center of the movie preached to us the same thing we learned from Jurassic Park from Jeff Goldblum. And then Elizabeth Olsen stayed hot just before the creatures fought each other. Then the skydiving happened, and then more fighting happened that we didn't get to see because the movie's editor hates us. If that's an hour, and then CinemaSins aren't assholes.
I've mentioned quite a few times that you simply do not understand when a film is showing you things that are happening simultaneously. An hour is a long time, and there is nothing about these events that suggests that they couldn't have all happened within the hour.
Hey, why didn't Godzilla use this earlier? Just like Pacific Rim's magic sword, seems like it could have been useful before now.
The explanation is that the Muto's EMP weakens Godzilla's ability to fire his atomic breath. The movie only shows him using it as a last resort as he prefers to fight physically, and it's likely that his atomic breath physically drains him.
Also, good God, Godzilla is awesome. I hope future movies include him the next time, rather than giving us what amounts to 5 minutes of screen time.
Wouldn't this moment be cheaper if they constantly showed Godzilla? I mean, I'm not arguing that we shouldn't have gotten more Godzilla, but this moment was awesome because we didn't see much of him.
Godzilla and the protagonist both pass out at the same time. I mean, there are script parallels, and then there's this f***ing movie.
This is you ignoring why Godzilla doesn't always use his atomic breath.
Wait, did Godzilla wake up, kill the Muto, then go back to the exact same place where he collapsed earlier?
No?
Well, on the bright side, San Francisco won't have to rebuild again until Star Trek Into Darkness happens.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
Movie expects me to get some kind of love boner over the reunion of two characters who had exactly 4 minutes of screen time together.
Jeremy says boner.
Sort of? Not really.
Put it this way. If Godzilla didn't take the Mutos out, they'd have wreaked a shit ton more destruction, especially considering they were trying to mate. So yes, he is the savior of the city. Not the one it deserves, but the one it needs.
Creature Pick interdicts specifics about the South Pacific.
Yeah, but this band once, to me, doxed the use of bad location gags. Slow it down, I just dissed you. I said this man wants to be Dr. Seuss, so bad location gags.
Young Hank displays his incredible stormtrooper aim, even though he could literally walk right up to the other currently unarmed pilot and shoot him point blank.
This man was just involved in a dogfight where his plane ended up crash landing. My point is that he has a ton of adrenaline coursing through his veins right now, which could explain his disorientation and bad aim at this moment. Not to mention it would be silly to give up your advantage as a person with a gun by walking up to someone without one and giving them an opportunity to disable or disarm you.
Mark my words. There'll never be a more screwed up time in Washington.
Har har, but this attempt at a cheap laugh could literally be put into any political era and everyone would knowingly chuckle, hence the cheap part.
Even in 1789? Because I'm pretty sure Georgie was universally loved. Except by his slaves. Yeah, besides the house Negroes, I'm pretty sure they hated his guts.
Hang on, they've been sitting in gridlock in this cab for who knows how long, but they've been right in front of their destination?
You just said it yourself. No one knows how long they've been sitting in the cab. But judging from the cabbie's reaction to the traffic, it appears that they've recently arrived.
It's notorious for the number of ships and planes that have gone missing there.
Just out of curiosity, if a landmass has this much of a reputation, why is it just now being discovered?
The island is perpetually covered by a hurricane-level storm that prevents the outside world from knowing about it. Landsat is the oldest program to map the Earth using satellites, and they began this endeavor in 1972. This movie is set in 1973. Do you get where I'm going with this? By the way, here's where the director of this movie had merit when he criticized CinemaSins. Where is the joke in this sin? What is funny about asking a question? This is actual criticism of this film, and it's due to not paying attention. My point is that all the fanboys of CinemaSins points to this video as a director not being able to take a joke, but this video is filled with these kinds of criticisms that stem from not paying attention to what's going on. According to these fanboys, they're being wrong on purpose, so they cannot be criticized. This is the gray area that CinemaSins likes to hide in whenever someone criticizes their nonsensical claims, and for that, they get as many sins as they gave this film.
We could piggyback on that operation.
If there's some other government organization already going to the island to explore it, then why the hell would the senator even need Monarch to tag along?
He doesn't need to. Randa is trying to convince him to let them, and the senator only agrees because Randa and Brooks state that the Russians are going to get there first if they don't go. Landsat is only going to map the island. Monarch wants to explore the island and search for advances in science.
In case you confused it with the Da Nang Air Force Base in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, but how many people who aren't Vietnamese know where the Da Nang is?
As if on cue, James gets into a fight to show off his survival skills right in front of guys who are going to hire him for that very thing.
Getting into a bar fight is a survival skill? And I'm pretty sure they have a military escort already and are hiring him for his tracking skills.
Foreshadow irony.
I'm cool with the foreshadowing part of this sin, even though I cannot possibly fathom how foreshadowing is something wrong, but irony? Aren't you a fucking writer? It amazes me how you don't seem to know the definitions of words that you use. The 2 books you wrote must be on the same level as The Hungry Caterpillar.
You're not actually gonna blame the people without guns for losing the war, are you?
Here's one of the main problems with this fucking movie. It seems like everyone has a manufactured conflict or bond after the first time they meet or are shown, and then it doesn't pay off in any way.
And here's one of the main problems with this fucking video. This conflict isn't paid off in any way. I'm pretty sure Nick Fury is the main antagonist, and Captain Marvel is one of the main protagonists, a conflict that directly results in his death.
As our satellites show, the island is surrounded by a perpetual storm system, allowing it to remain hidden from the outside world.
It's a lot like that TV show Lost. Anyone remember Lost here? Well, you will.
Here's a sin for not paying attention to the explanation for why they're only just now discovering the island.
And accompanied by biologist Miss San.
Biologist is conveniently hot, so that I'll keep watching this. Oh, that's the same chick from The Great Wall. And holy shit, this movie made about the same amount of money in China that movie did. Anyway, this movie's blatant attempt to placate a Chinese audience is totally wasted in this movie.
Totally wasted? You sure about that, boss? Because I'm pretty sure this movie made 168 M's in China because of this chick. That's what you call a massacre in Tiananmen Square, if you know what I'm saying.
We'll use explosives to shake the earth and create vibrations, helping us to map the subsurface of the island.
The way Brooks is presenting this plan sounds ludicrous enough that someone should ask him why the you would use explosives to map the island.
Again, another attempt to criticize the movie that's in no way a joke. Also again, you don't know what you're talking about. This method is called reflection seismology, or a seismic survey. Geologists literally use this technique in real life.
Once on the island, the storm's interference will block all radio contact with the ship.
Truthfully, I'm just excited to be playing another role besides the motion capture ape this time.
Hey, I know some of the background information about this film. Let me point that out and somehow count that as something wrong with this film.
You don't strike me as a war photographer.
Anti-war photographer.
Man, they'll let anyone on this fucking mission. Why the would a known anti-war photographer be invited to shoot a government-funded military-assisted exploration?
If you were actually paying attention to this film, you'd have seen the scene where Weaver gets a phone call explaining that she campaigned to document the island mapping expedition by Landsat. She's an investigative photojournalist, and this mission literally has nothing to do with war.
There is no way I'm getting on that helicopter.
Why do movies even bother with this bullshit anymore?
Because people still laugh at it, and the last time I checked, the audience is king. Kong.
If this is truly
the land where God did not finish creation,
why the hell do they have regular-ass seagulls on this island? Everything else seems to be deadly, except for these regular-ass seagulls.
Jeremy takes hyperbole, metaphors, and idioms at face value cliché.
God damn these stupid f***ing bombs and their unopposed use in this f***ing movie. Hey, we just found the one island that's been uncharted throughout all of civilization. Now let's immediately bomb the f*** out of it.
Seismic survey. Look, just because we might not morally agree with something doesn't mean it doesn't have merit. This is a solid and practical way of mapping an island in the short time they have allotted for this mission.
Cole's not excited about the bombs going off. He's just happy that the director chose him for the obligatory destruction reflecting off sunglasses shot.
This isn't even Cole. That's a whole nother guy.
The pilot, who has basically one job, somehow fails to see this tree flying in slow motion towards them and does nothing to evade it.
There was nothing slow motion about that tree flying at the helo. In the full speed scene, you can see that the tree flew at the helicopter in roughly 3 seconds, not to mention he clearly did try to evade.
Would it have killed you to show the guy falling into Kong's mouth? Or was that too gruesome, considering later you have a graphic shot of a guy getting impaled by a spider leg?
Channel named CinemaSins doesn't know what a match cut is.
Helicopters, most of which contain civilians who are now just seeing the large and dangerous prehistoric ape, continue to fly right at the large and dangerous prehistoric ape.
It's almost as if you haven't seen this movie or something. Throughout the entirety of the film, Packard demonstrates that he will put everyone's life at risk to accomplish his goals.
Is that a monkey?
The twist is, it's actually you!
Hey, I know some of the background information about this film. Let me...
Movies are art. So did Kong slam this helicopter to explode in a fashion by which the flames would create this symmetrical stare down between Packard and Kong? Probably not. It's just a visual expressing itself in a manner pleasing to our eyes and brains. But I'm sinning it anyway, because I'm a dick who takes things literally, and Packard should be dead.
I'm not sure if I should remove sins for the self-awareness or give sins for the lack of self-awareness to correct themselves. Oh, right. This series is called Everything Wrong with CinemaSins.
Cole, what's wrong with you? How you even got an appetite right now?
I'm going to guess in the script that Jason Mitchell's character was not called Mills, but guy who's always comically yelling at character as of yet undefined. And the dialogue was written in coffee stains.
Jason Mitchell's character is written to be the audience surrogate, a trope in film where a character in a movie says or asks things the audience would. They also act as the comic relief. Amazing I have to explain this to one of the largest film criticism channels on YouTube.
We just got taken down by a monkey the size of a building.
And apparently he just pieced the f*** out afterwards, even though you guys are being incredibly loud. And that's what he apparently got pissed off about in the first place.
You honestly think King Kong attacked them because they were being loud, opposed to him perceiving the humans as attacking the island and waking up the Skullcrawlers? This man has nearly 9 million subscribers.
Out of 1,000 young men on that ship, I was the only survivor.
Careful, Bill. I hear Elijah Price is looking for a guy like that.
Jeremy makes a pop culture We get it! Sam Jackson is in a lot of movies. Moving on.
My agency is known as Monarch. We specialize in the hunt for massive unidentified terrestrial organisms.
What exactly did Monarch find that kept the U.S. government funding it for 30 years? If Randa is a crackpot, then there never was any real proof of monsters, and the government decided to keep throwing money at this for no reason.
This isn't true. Monarch was formed a year after World War II when they discovered a cell of the kaiju Shinomura. In the 50s, Monarch helped lure Godzilla and Shinomura to an island to attempt to blow both of them up with a nuclear weapon, an event that would become known as Castle Bravo, the namesake of the underwater base in Godzilla King of the Monsters. This is expanded upon in the Monsterverse prequel, Godzilla Awakening.
Giant spider somehow went unnoticed until now, even though he's got giant bamboo-like legs.
They're standing in a bamboo forest, and Jeremy is confused why they don't notice the legs of this mother-long legs, which has evolved to look like bamboo.
All these giant, dangerous, prehistoric creatures appear exactly once a piece in this movie.
This is true for the mother longlegs and the spore mantis, but the skullcrawlers, cycle vultures, and scur buffaloes appear quite a few times.
And one day, the damnedest thing happened. Some of the things they were afraid of started protecting them against the things that were eating them.
Why? Nobody knows. Seems like a creature like Kong wouldn't care one whit about a bunch of humans getting slayed by giant monsters, but I guess it's all so he can be the good guy.
King Kong and his race keep the equilibrium on this island. This is why he protects it and the creatures that are preyed upon by the vicious skullcrawlers. This includes humans. The film explicitly states that Kong is the answer to the lizards.
Kong is God on this island. He's the only thing keeping them lizard things on the ground.
He's right, Colonel. We can't kill Kong. Now, that other creature, that's the threat. And there are more of them down there. If you take away a species' natural competition, they'll proliferate out of control.
They come from the vents, deep down. That's why Kong got so mad. Those bombs woke up a bunch of them.
Seems like the natives, along with their buddy Kong, could have built walls around the vents so that they could contain them, or even sealed the vents.
He can handle them as long as he gets to them when they're still small.
Awesome fight sequence is hijacked by unnecessary narration.
Bullshit. This explanation is needed for you and your mouth-breathing, borderline handicapped audience that need everything spelled out for them with crayons and Play-Doh. Otherwise, you'd ask why King Kong is able to handle these two at one time, but struggles with the one at the end.
Kong's the last of his kind, but he's still growing.
Of course he is, because how else would he eventually match up with the much larger Godzilla in the next installation of this universe, but still make this movie somewhat believable?
This is just a throwaway comment, meant to provide filler for this video. Kind of like what I'm doing right now.
While the guys get to work on fixing the boat, Mason unhelpfully tours the village and takes pictures, and I guess Sans taking a nap or something, since that's what this movie thinks of women's roles.
She's a photojournalist. She's photojournaling. Besides, she later helps to build and start the boat, distract the big skullcrawler long enough for Kong to kill him, and kills one of the skullcrawlers in the graveyard. She was incredibly useful.
Sometimes an enemy doesn't exist till you're looking for one.
This dialogue is so stupidly pedantic that I'm starting to think the script was written by Yogi Berra.
No, this dialogue was meant to criticize CinemaSins.
This guy survived way too long for this to be the end of it. I mean, in reality, it makes sense that something on the island would randomly kill him like this. But we've been following this dude trying to make his way back in 3 different scenes, like he was going to be a major puzzle piece in the plot. But nope, just feels like they were trying to give Toby Kebbell more face time other than his work as Kong.
I'm confused. Don't you always attempt to send films on the basis of, this isn't how reality works? But now you're sending something for being realistic, and combining it with a lie by saying his character isn't a major puzzle piece to the plot. I'm pretty sure main characters die trying to reach this guy.
They just got this fucking weird boat made of airplane parts to work, and yet the natives instinctively knew to come down here and say goodbye to Hank.
The boat was already working at this point. The natives were audience to Marlowe and Gunpei building this boat, and almost assuredly knew what it meant if the boat were ever completed.
In 24 hours, we have to be on the other side of this island.
We don't got time for that, man. Put the cigarette out.
Movie inserts stupid cigarette smoking scenes so that we know this shit around here is flammable.
This is 1973 and these are Vietnam veterans. The real sin is that these guys aren't smoking in every scene.
This skullcrawler vomits Chapman's head and his dog tags only feet away from the people who are looking for him, because the director thinks using your brain is for pussies.
Fortunately, you won't ever be confused for using your brain.
Why doesn't Conrad pull them back right this second? He's seen the skull and the ID, and can literally show both to the Colonel right now. This movie's aggressively stupid.
How would that solve the issue of them being stalked by a giant lizard? Dude, the only thing aggressively stupid here is the CinemaSins writing team.
Set up to 50!
Hang on, there were also regular dinosaurs like Triceratops on the island? Are we sure this isn't actually Isla Nublar?
First of all, that ain't a regular Triceratops, as that skull is a bit larger than an actual Triceratops skull. But even if that were a regular Triceratops, what's so weird about that? You're literally watching a film series with living dinosaurs, and if regular humans and animals exist, that means evolution has taken place in this universe, and regular dinosaurs would absolutely be a thing.
It's amazing during all this commotion, King Kong never comes by to see what's up. He was super upset when they dropped the bombs earlier because of the noise, but now he's like, f*** it.
I'm gonna let you finish, but Cheese Larson is over here being useful, and you're conveniently ignoring it.
I know he's big and strong and all, but Kong survives this.
Barely.
Man, I'm sure glad Brie Larson is in this scene. She brings so much to the table here.
I think it's telling that Jeremy is a bigger SJW than Brie f***ing Larson, because not even she complained about her role in this film.
Die, you motherfucker.
This movie will remain PG-13, goddammit.
Sins a movie for not cursing, censors nearly every curse word. CinemaSins, ladies and gentlemen.
Go live your life.
Movie seriously thinks it can wring an emotional human moment out of this puppet show.
One thing that I've noticed about CinemaSins is that they will attempt to appease the audience by sinning bad movies really harshly while being lenient to internet consensus good films. Somewhere between writing for this movie, they seem to have gotten their antennas crossed because they seem to think the audience dislikes this movie and are being overly harsh because they think we will appreciate this shit. I gotta tell you, we are not amused.
Jeez, how many ex machinas are in this movie?
There are 0 ex machinas in this movie, but there are 5 sins for misusing the term.
Not only does this non-military photographer have perfect aim to hit a moving target with a goddamn flare gun, this actually distracts this dipshit from advancing on the hapless boat.
Ignoring Bree being useful yet again. Besides, how perfect does your aim have to be to hit a 200-foot lizard that's slowly walking?
Jesus, how many fucking cameras did they take to film this reunion?
I don't give a shit what you're talking about. I just want to leave you with this word from the director. Is CinemaSins satire?
No, it's not. Satire is not bankruptcy. You cannot just declare it. Look, you guys can criticize my movie all you want. All I ask is if you do it, have some f***ing merit to it.
Men.
Was that a jump scare during the f***ing logos? What kind of sadistic game are you playing, movie?
So, a somewhat loud footstep from a kaiju counts as a jump scare now? Oh, I get it. These logos were only 27 seconds long and you couldn't say 50 seconds of logos. I told you morons he doesn't remove sins for short logos.
Movie uses footage of people from Nashville after their football team goes 8-8 for yet another season.
Oh hey, here's something that has entirely nothing to do with this movie. Sin.
I was looking at recipes for toast.
Way to go, Mom! Caught her in a lie. But she was cooking eggs, too. Sometimes those have recipes. But also, I don't know why Stranger Things is lying so horribly. Why not just say you were looking at emails? Or Chrissy Teigen's Twitter?
Probably because she's a 12-year-old going through her parents' very recent divorce and she's been secretly contacting her father, which would presumably upset her mother? I don't know, just a thought.
Outside of the writer's room for this movie, an intern passed by the open door and said, "Man, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they try and explain the birth of Mothra. High on Mountain Dew, flaming hot Cheetos, and donut-flavored vape juice."
Skip?
Damn, this new Spider-Man movie is f***ing dark.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
I guess they were going for some 3D sight scares here, but to me it just looks like what me and my crew did to the camera during our last orgy movie. Warren's iPhone XR was never really the same afterwards.
Jeremy said a cringe.
Son of a bitch, it worked.
And she's so positive this tech has worked on this brand new monster that she's gonna encourage her only child to reach out and touch that motherfucker on the snout, or whatever passes as a snout in Mothland.
Considering Mothra was rampaging like seconds ago and immediately stopped when the orca played, yeah, I'm pretty sure she should be positive the tech works. Because it does. Not to mention, how the hell is her holding Madison back, encouraging her to touch Mothra?
Must find ways to coexist with Titans.
A sort of symbiotic relationship, if you will.
Jesus, what is up with Sally Hawkins getting familiar with strange, fantastical creatures? If she hops into the shower with Rodan later in this movie, I'm going to officially be worried for her long-term safety.
If the pop culture reference that you're making here had any saliency, she would grow wings and live happily ever after with Rodan. But because Rodan can't fit in a shower...
The feed cuts out there. The survivors haven't been able to give us much more than what the footage allows.
Excuse me, what? Survivors? Well, survivors. When Tywin Lannister came in with his crew, they shot everybody, including downright making an example of this guy. The other people in the facility got splooged with moth silk.
Look at that, ignoring evidence to make an erroneous point. If I weren't on a CinemaSins video, I'd have thought this was Reset Era. Anyway, obviously the people that got splooged with moth silk are the survivors they're referring to. Do you think silk kills people? Because my nuts feel amazing right now.
Emma and I destroyed the prototype.
After San Francisco, she went home to Boston, spent years developing it.
When somebody says they spent years, what amount of time do you think of? 5 years have passed since the events of The Last Godzilla. If you spent 5 years in college, do you say, man, I spent years in college? Probably not, unless you're a psycho. Anyway, the movie later suggests that Emma probably spent at most 3 years on it.
Okay, but whether the amount of time she spends on it is 3 or 5 years, spent years developing it is grammatically coherent and makes sense to anyone not named Jeremy Scott.
Emma always said, no one knew the Olga better than you. It shouldn't even exist.
You guys, we're out in the middle of f***ing nowhere in Colorado, so why are we all whispering?
It's called using our inside voice, Jeremy. Now here's your applesauce, and after that, it's nappy time.
Codename Mothra escaped, only to cocoon itself later under a nearby waterfall.
Hey man, who doesn't like a good 45-foot shower after you woke up from a long nap?
This is one of those sins that CinemaSins likes to include to show a cool scene. Nothing to see here, folks.
Emma wouldn't have wanted that, even to save her life.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time Emma put all of this before herself, or her family, would it?
Jeez, if I wanted this much unnecessary drama related to a monster movie, I'd have read the aftermath of the CinemaSins Kong Skull Island video.
Oh, you haven't begun to see the aftermath of the CinemaSins Kong Skull Island video, because I'm doing that one next.
This attack starts on the outside of the facility, and the movie will go to zero lengths to explain why the people on the inside of the facility were unable to protect themselves or sound an alarm.
This is a scientific research facility in Antarctica. Who are they gonna call? Superman?
No, 11, your powers won't work here.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
How are they getting all this?
Emma isolated Godzilla's bioacoustics.
I so wanted to do a bonus round for all the times these assholes said bioacoustics, but I figured that this video would already be around 95 minutes, so instead of that, just accept 95 cents, movie.
You padding the sin count, bro? I think you're padding the sin count.
Open the shields. Let them know we're not a threat.
How does Godzilla know that this submersible they're in even has its shields engaged? Does Godzilla know anything about shields?
I'm just failing to understand what would compel you to ask such a mind-numbingly stupid question. What the hell does Godzilla knowing about shields have to do with literally anything? Godzilla cannot see the crew due to the shields, and Mark's point is that if Godzilla sees them, then he'll realize they're not a threat. What the f*** are you talking about?
Hey guys, I'm getting an EKG reading.
You mean of Godzilla? That guy who apparently uses wormhole tunnels to go places quickly? I'll remind you that you beat him here, so nothing about this entire trip to Antarctica makes sense.
No, dummy, the EKG reading is for Ghidorah. You know, because it's an EKG?
Hail Hydra?
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
Do you need a big effect sequence in your movie, but you are on a budget? Is your monster just drawn on a series of bourbon-stained cocktail napkins instead of being properly computer-generated? Well, why pay for good CGI when you can buy the brand new service? Introducing Dark! Dark! It'll obfuscate your creature, make your military cardboard cutouts look close to real, and it'll save you a lot more than $1. That's D-A-R-K, Dark.
For a scene that's taking place during a snowstorm at night, this scene is brightly lit. Dude, you seriously need glasses if you can't see what's going on in this scene.
I guess this is the equivalent of Monster Zero Blue Balls.
Jeremy says boner.
This is a badass shot that the movie will forget when it comes to the action. I could have watched the entire fight from this perspective. Sure, you could throw in a few edits here and there to get us closer to the action, but maybe just take a breath and let us enjoy the full-frame spectacle just once. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, big fatal flaw, constantly cutting to the humans and their reactions rather than just showing the monster fight. There's some cool fights in this movie, but a great chunk of it occurs off-screen to focus on the humans that we clearly don't give a about.
Agreed.
How is Mark sweating this hard outside at night in Antarctica?
Jeremy thinks you can't sweat at night when it's cold. Dude, you can sweat underwater, and this man has clearly been running for his life the entire night.
The mass extinction we feared has already begun, and we are the cause.
Antagonist does something really up because humans are a disease cliche.
But is the antagonist really doing something up though? I guess you could say that from a human's perspective, sure, but what about the other 9 million species on this planet? One could argue that what humans are doing to innocent creatures is far more up than anything we could do to ourselves.
Also, I know Emma's supposed to be insane or something, but how does she account for the Titans that aren't doing anything about the human infection like Kong or Godzilla? Why would the Earth birth Kong on Skull Island of all places?
Emma's point is that these creatures are here to keep the balance of nature. Kong and his race are specifically mentioned to keep the balance on Skull Island, where there exists all manner of fantastic creatures. Actually, in the novelization of this movie, King Kong is mentioned to have prevented Skullcrawlers from answering King Ghidorah's call.
Wow, I didn't realize I was going to be disappointed in the last few episodes of Game of Thrones all over again while watching this movie.
A pop culture reference that is—
Mayday, this is Raptor 1 to Argo.
This is Barnes' picture when he radios in? I'm not even mad, that's kind of hilarious. But seriously, it's still a sin, because I am a jealous and vengeful god.
Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
Deusilla Ex Machina.
A Deus Ex Machina is a plot device whereby a seemingly unsolvable problem in a story is suddenly and abruptly resolved by an unexpected and seemingly unlikely occurrence. By definition, Godzilla is not unexpected because the film tells us that he's heading to Mexico. By definition, Ghidorah is not an unsolvable problem because the film literally had him fight Godzilla already, and it's the premise of the film. By definition, this situation is not abruptly resolved because there's an hour left in the goddamn movie. Stop misusing Deus Ex Machina!
Well, I think it has something to do with his goddamn head growing back.
I've never seen anything like it. It violates everything we know about the natural order.
In a stupid movie full of stupidisms, this may be the stupidest. Growing back stuff after it gets cut off? Lizards, spiders, stone crabs? This character's a f***ing scientist, man.
No, not one of these animals grow their heads back, and even if they did, never this goddamn fast.
What did they call him?
Ghidorah, the one who's many.
What?
She said gonorrhea.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like gonorrhea, face. You'd fit in swell at Kappa Sigma. Jokes like that make you a legacy member.
Says the guy that made an orgy joke about climaxing on an iPhone.
Their behavior is not random or erratic.
If I may, sir.
Yeah, let me explain it, Eileen. I'm whiter and maler.
White males.
You're a fucking white male. If that's such a negative, give up your job to me, a black male. Oh? You're not going to do that? Then you're just as fake as the virtue signaling you're doing right now.
Mothra, queen of the monsters.
Whoa, whoa, whoa there. Mothra was just born, so ease up a little on the official titles until she hits the prime of her career. You didn't see Nicki Minaj crowned as the queen of rap just after her verse on Kanye's Monster dropped.
1. Mothra was not just born. She just emerged in her moth form. Remember? Splooged with moth silk? And 2. Implying Nicki Minaj is anywhere near the queen of rap when Lauryn Hill, Young M.A., and Lil' Kim exist. And her verse was trash, by the way. Don't at me.
So her and Godzilla, they got a thing going on?
The movie seems to think the answer is yes, in a symbiotic kind of way. But if that's the case, why was Mothra in a pupal stage when she was at the Monarch Outpost? She had to form a cocoon to become the awesome monster she is. So is this actually Mothra's kid? Or is there some weird backwards metamorphosis when Mothra goes into hibernation?
For the purposes of this film, you don't, I repeat, you absolutely don't need the answer to this question to understand this film. The film shows you that Mothra is an ally of Godzilla through her actions. But the answer to this irrelevant question is that Mothra is immortal and reincarnates in much the same way as a phoenix. She retains the memories of her past lives. This is explained in the 15 movies she's appeared in over the past 60 years.
So this plan is what you would call a long shot, right?
Yeah, that plan is to blow up nukes to revive Godzilla, which doesn't seem to be the way nuclear energy actually works, but even if it does, isn't Godzilla an ancient predator who rose millions of years before nuclear energy was created, according to these new movies?
You cannot possibly be serious. Do you know what nuclear energy is, numbnuts? Radiation, something that has existed as long as the universe. The kaiju feed on radiation and use it as an energy source, as shown in the last movie. Nuclear weapons are just a convenient source of this energy.
They want to bring Godzilla back from the dead.
Barnes recites the unfortunate result of a discussion between powerful producers in 1996.
This is a very American point of view because Godzilla has never been dead in Japan. Hell, between 1995 and 2018, there have been 11 Godzilla films, and this is excluding the 3 films made by Hollywood.
With the water covering up a city and a random dragon flying around, if I inserted this shot into that time Bright and The Day After Tomorrow merged into one movie, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between this and The Bright After Tomorrow.
Bringing up the movie Bright. No, that's the sin. Bright fucking sucked.
The good news is they'll revive Godzilla with this blast. The bad news is that they unknowingly destroyed the algae that cures cancer, and the documents proving God's existence, and worst of—
Skip? Wait, is that the statue of Pazuzu? Anyway, skip.
I'm sure glad to see Godzilla back, but what a waste of energy.
He's just releasing excess energy. Kinda like a fart.
Nobody move!
Godzilla can smell that these people are good.
Godzilla does not attack humans. In fact, he never fights humans in this series once.
Okay, so Madison's gonna survive this because she's going to be one step ahead of Monster Zero's attack. But does something seem weird to you about the way this lightning attack is working? Why isn't it slicing through as 1 to 3 continuous beams? And why weren't the heads working together like they always have? Instead, it seems like Monster Zero is shooting once, then stopping, then aiming and shooting again, and so on.
Says all this garbage bullshit while showing videographic evidence contradicting his point.
Deusilla ex machina capitulum duo.
A Deus Ex Machina is a plot device whereby—
Remember that Buffy the Vampire episode called The Zeppo, where Xander went off on his own adventure and all the real was going down with the other characters in the background?
No!
Even though we've seen Godzilla take a Muto and breathe his blue nuclear down his throat, here he decides that smashing through a building while Ghidorah is stuck to it is the best move.
This is why Godzilla is smarter than you, Jeremy. He actually learns from his mistakes. Remember when he did this? And then this. Yeah, just firing his atomic breath down Ghidorah's neck isn't going to permanently kill him.
Long live the king.
What?
I'll tell you what. This fucking laugh.
While the movie has been pretty good about that 12 minutes until Godzilla melts down time, as far as the actual movie time is concerned, there is no way what we've actually seen fits into 12 minutes.
I mean, okay. I love how you just said that like we're supposed to simply take your word for it with no further context. I mean, with all the bullshit you've said in these videos, I'm not taking your word for shit.
How the hell is this asshole alive? Mothra stabbed him, and he fell helplessly to the ground like he was out of commission. And then, let's not forget Godzilla just melted down the entire area that Rodan was lying unconscious in. A meltdown that wiped out Ghidorah just a second ago.
And here's where we're ending this video, folks, because this asshole just asked, why did something born from a volcano survive fire? And let me stop you right there, because that fucking laugh. Okay, continue.
Somewhere. It's an island, and we soon learn they control it all digitally anyway, but yeah, somewhere on Skull Island, all y'all want movie. Why somewhere, when it's all still Skull Island? You didn't somewhere the title of the first movie, it was just Kong Skull Island, not Kong somewhere on Skull Island.
I don't really see the issue here, Jer. It's an uncharted island. What do you want them to say, Nova Scotia Skull Island? It's not like this place has points of interest that people would know.
I think Jeremy's point is that this is all a simulation, and the somewhere should notate that.
Yeah, I picked up on that, Stan. The issue is that this building is still somewhere on Skull Island.
Oh, they put Kong in the cabin in the woods.
One sin for a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the movie, and another for suggesting Kong being in Cabin in the Woods isn't awesome as and something that isn't possible in that reality.
Also, if Kong knows he's in a cage, why doesn't he throw the tree lower, where he can go grab it and smash on the fake sky wall next to it? Why does he throw his angry, I know you have me Truman Show trees so high in the sky?
The implication here is that Kong is aware he is in a containment facility, but not that he wants or even knows he can leave. Skull Island is about to be destroyed by a perpetual storm system, so maybe he's just expressing his frustration a bit. Besides, all he did was destroy a part of the screen. The movie doesn't give us enough information on the durability of this place other than Kong has thus far been unable to leave. That would then imply the building, not the projection, is at least sturdy enough to contain him.
Government containment was right there.
Well, yeah. Monarch isn't a YouTube channel pretending to be satirical.
Also, Outpost 236. You have 236 outposts checking out giant beasts in secret? This would have played better if you'd named it Outpost 16, Christ.
Apparently, Jeremy hasn't been paying attention to the past couple of movies in this franchise because he'd have known that Monarch has been around for over 100 years. As they have been tracking kaiju since then, I'd think 200 outposts dedicated to this purpose would be conservative.
Dr. Andrews, did you see that?
How could she miss seeing it?
Maybe she could have been asleep, taking a piss, pooping, putting on the makeup she's wearing. It's entirely possible to miss big, obvious things, Jeremy. I mean, look at you and your channel.
We need to start thinking about off-site solutions.
The island is the one thing that's kept him isolated. If he leaves, Godzilla will come for him.
So wait, what's the problem again? Kong can't leave Skull Island unless you take him off of it. And as long as he chills on the island, Godzilla won't f*** with him. I know you're worried about the biodome around the island getting destroyed, but Kong can't leave the island on his own, can he?
They also don't want Kong to die. The guy is enormous and famously tough, but even he can't survive a Category 5 tropical cyclone.
The whole theory of an ancient rivalry stems from Iwi mythology.
I'm very happy you got to pull out your Iwi knowledge for no reason in this exchange. I mean, we all know they'd fight if they saw each other. That's common sense. A Godzilla-Kong fight is inevitable, not because of some Iwi mythology, but because of Warner Brothers' bottom line.
So is Jeremy, the creator of CinemaSins, right now saying he doesn't require an explanation for the Godzilla vs. Kong matchup? That's like Sonic being a fan of snails or LeBron James not complaining about a foul call. Completely out of character.
He's gotten too big over time. This environment won't sustain much longer. It's too unstable.
Why is it too unstable? Maybe you can stop letting little girls near King Kong and showing the voodoo dolls you made of him. The mother was taking a shower and about to go hunting, completely happy with his life, until she showed up.
I see CinemaSins has begun hamming it up in recent videos, attempting to play up the comedic aspect of this series. I still find this sin as something wrong with CinemaSins because they played a scene of them saying this environment is unstable and then went on a rant that had nothing to do with that scene. I'll remind you that their videos are titled Everything Wrong With, and my question is, How are their lame jokes something wrong with the movie? The defenders of CinemaSins like to have it both ways and defend their jokes saying it's all a joke, but at the same time getting mad at me for poking holes in their serious criticism. Which is it? Is it all a joke where nothing is to be taken seriously? Or is it criticism that is infallible because a channel with 9 million subscribers said so?
Handwriting, circling, important notes, super focus, Egyptian doodles.
Jeremy sings in a video cliche.
It's weird that they call the dead monsters in this universe defeated. Like scientists created a world federation for monster fighting complete with rankings and title fights and betting.
It's a movie called Godzilla vs. Kong, emphasis on the versus part. This is a world where giant kaiju fight each other. Defeated is the correct term, especially in Rodan's case where he was beaten but not killed. Besides, the word deceased is right there.
Movie opens on a literal March Madness style monster bracket that leads to the final of Godzilla vs. Kong, and that's just stupid. If this is supposedly an NCAA bracket, Kong got here on some suspect fights because Godzilla did most of the killing to make it into this mythical championship.
I will give you some credit for this title screen being relatively out of chronological order, but this movie proves you wrong. Besides the fact that Kong only had one movie so far, meaning Godzilla has had more opportunities for fights, Kong killed the giant squid and at least 3 skull crawlers in that first movie. Before the big fight happens in this movie, Kong defeats 2 warbats in Hollow Earth. Kong kills more kaiju on screen than Godzilla does. All this screen is doing is showing the past and the future, which is totally fine for a title screen.
No, don't eat that!
Does he know this apple makes you look like an asshole too? The director said, let's make your character eat that other asshole's apple. It'll make you look like even more of an asshole.
2 separate apple asshole sins for the same scene?
You padding the sin count, bro? I think you're padding the sin count.
At this point, don't you know that you can't kill Godzilla like this? Why send pilots on this fruitless exercise unless you personally hate them?
What are they supposed to do? Sit on their hands while Godzilla terrorizes cities and kills thousands of people? Anyway, the military is always spending billions on upgrading their arsenal. Their thinking is, perhaps we now have something that can penetrate Godzilla's tough hide, so let's at least try. Besides, we've seen Godzilla bleed before, and if it bleeds,
we can kill it.
While the damage was largely contained to the U.S. headquarters of Apex Cybernetics.
Wow, that's weird. A monster that has protected us in the past went after one corporation, and we're not asking why that is. Godzilla must just hate all of humanity now for no reason. There's no other explanation for it, really.
But that's exactly the issue. Up until this movie, Godzilla has avoided directly harming human beings. It has never mattered why he appeared. He was always careful to avoid killing humans that weren't a threat to him. In this movie, he gives about as many fucks as this guy.
You say in big doo-doo this time. You say in big doo-doo this time. You say in big doo-doo this time.
You say in big doo-doo this time.
You say in big doo-doo this time. You say in big doo-doo this time. You say in big doo-doo this time. You this time.
Why else would Godzilla flash an intimidation display if there wasn't another Titan around?
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
Did Kyle Chandler not learn anything from the last movie?
I don't really care about this sin, especially because it's a setup for a pop culture reference gag. But what caught my attention was the botched editing here. CinemaSins, the 9 million subscriber channel, took a page out of The Birdmans, the channel with significantly less subscribers, and began subtitling the characters in these movies. You're probably thinking, wait, how do you know they're copying you? And the answer to that is the fact that they made them yellow and italicized, which is exactly how I did them, and I was doing it first. What does all this have to do with this particular sin? Well, in this scene, the subtitles are white and non-italicized, which wouldn't be a problem if the earlier subtitles in this video were too. Hint, they're not.
Please, Dr. Lind.
Despite a creepy guy sneaking into his office like this, he doesn't see any red flags to what this guy proposes next.
That's a pretty vague sin. This creepy guy is famous and Dr. Lin knows him because he's in his line of work. I mean, this is like if you're a basketball coach and Michael Jordan breaks into your house and offers you the coaching job to the Hornets. You're not going to question it. You're going to accept that shit right after you stop peeing your pants.
Magnetic imaging from one of our new satellites.
Okay, did the movie just invent a way to see the Earth's inner core? Also, why does it look like a plasma ball?
No, the movie didn't just invent this concept. This is how we know the Earth has a solid core in real life, by measuring the reflection of seismic waves during an event such as an earthquake. This particular method uses magnetism, which reaches the same conclusion as a seismograph, but through different means. You know, like a mid-engine car versus a front-engine car. But the question you ask is even sillier. Why does this look like a plasma ball? Dude, the movie literally explains that these are tunnels that the kaiju utilize to travel around the world. The first sin of this video is you implying you've already watched this movie before you sat down to write sins about it, so you're faking like you don't know the answer to this question already. Hell, Godzilla King of the Monsters explained that, and I know you saw it because I sent that video too.
He talks about how his brother hit a patch of gravity in the Earth's core, a whole planet's worth, and is that in the last movie? King of Mobsters or whatever? I don't remember. And that maybe says something. Am I supposed to know who this brother is?
King of Mobsters? Why are you pretending you haven't seen that movie? Why are you pretending that you haven't already watched this movie? What are you, 6? What's with all the make-believe?
A power source in Hollow Earth?
It's there! We just need Kong to bring us to it!
I honestly don't understand why they can't just take this awesome ship that Apex built and go look around for the power source first, before doing something insane like dragging Kong off his island to lead them there. If you've got all this rad imaging equipment, why can't you find this stuff on your own?
Because they're on a timetable. Godzilla is destroying their facilities and killing people. You would think a sense of urgency in this situation would be a normal thing, Jeremy. In the scene where you were pretending not to have information you definitely do, the movie was explaining why they needed Kong.
Are you guys familiar with genetic memory? It's a theory that all titans share a common impulse to return to their evolutionary source.
Like spawning salmon.
Exactly. We're a homing pigeon. If this is the titan's home, and this life force sustains them...
A titan could show you the way.
Yeah.
King Kong on this barge raises many questions, like how did they lift him? How did they get him on the outside of the habitat? What kind of tranquilizer knocks him out long enough for the raising, the carrying, and the chaining handcuffing?
I'm sure this does raise many questions. My problem is every single one of yours should be obvious. They almost certainly lifted him with cranes like the ones in this scene. The kind of tranquilizer is irrelevant, but they do show that he is constantly being drugged while on this ship. What kind of tranquilizer? That's like asking what kind of nuts are those? D's, motherfucker!
The myths say that their ancestors fought each other in a great war.
The myths? The myths?
Jeremy is implying that the word myth here implies the events the myths refer to didn't happen. As I had to explain to the Christians that get mad at me for referring to their wacky series of fables as Christian mythology, the word myth means stories that try to explain otherwise historical events. A myth doesn't automatically imply that something is untrue. I mean, Christian myths are, but still.
It's not that I don't believe that Kong couldn't learn how to sign, it's just, I feel like since Kong Skull Island took place in the 70s and we haven't seen Kong again until now, they really shortchanged us on his character development and everything that's happened in the last 40 or so years. There's like a whole movie missing that would have made this moment better. It's like the latest Planet of the Apes franchise starting with Dawn instead of Rise.
It's not like that at all. This moment was supposed to be a surprise to the audience and serves to prove that Kong is not only intelligent, but can use spatial reasoning and demonstrates displacement. And being frank, this movie is Kong's movie. He receives basically all of the characterization that you're asking for.
He's not a weirdo. He's a covert investigator, and he's the only one looking for the truth.
I said the same thing to my roommates before answering a crick.
He consumes a ton of bleach.
He drinks bleach.
Showers with it.
You looked at him weird for even suggesting he drinks bleach, but you're the one who chose the word consume. You can't use the wrong word and be a dick when someone misunderstands what you say.
Yeah, but consume doesn't always mean to ingest, Jeremy, unless you think the word consumer means someone who eats things like iPhones and cameras.
Before we go any farther, tap or no tap?
This guy with super important information only does business with people who shun tap water, but he takes their word for it, so you can be sure he's serious about it.
Welcome to the wonderful world of conspiracy theorists. These unuseful ignorants believe all kinds of crazy shit, like gravity doesn't exist, that the sun and moon are the same size and rotate above a flat Earth like this, that if a helicopter hovers in the same place for 12 hours, the Earth should spin under it and the helicopter will land in a different country. Oh? All of these are flat earther talking points? Well, surely someone who doesn't trust tap water is smarter than those evolutionary dead ends.
I think he targeted the Apex facility.
I'm of the same opinion.
I feel like everything in this conversation should already be established. He does a podcast, she listens to the podcast. Can we get to the part where you want to break into Apex now?
Well, why don't you just do that? You have the power to skip this part of the movie and talk about what it does wrong, yet you're here meandering for the past 7 minutes. At 7 minutes, the original CinemaSins would have been done and in the outtakes by now. We're not even at the first kaiju fight yet.
I just want us to all step outside the movie right now for a second and look at that ridiculous 3-step jacket collar.
And this is why we're still not at the first kaiju fight yet.
The little girl with some weird special relationship to Kong is now going to sense Godzilla's approach like she's a magic 8-ball or some
Son, this little girl is deaf. She's feeling Godzilla's approach. I like how you're using the word sense here as if it's something mystical when the sense of touch is a thing almost all of us have. Well, all of us except this guy's penis.
These dumbasses shoot artillery and or missiles at Godzilla, even though it's well established at this point that either A, they don't hurt him, or B, they actually make him stronger.
The thing is, these weapons are being fired from a naval vessel. The Navy utilizes some of the most powerful weaponry humanity has ever created, so of course they're going to at least try fighting back. You want them to just sit on all of that artillery while Godzilla is ripping through their ships like paper? Look up saturation fire. Besides, there is evidence to support that these weapons have some sort of effect on him, because otherwise, there is no reason for Godzilla to even react to them. But he does. Think of ants crawling up your butthole. 1? Who cares? 1,000?
Okay, so Kong appears to be finally back up on...
Jeremy thinks this part of the movie is boring. That's worth these many cents.
Kong was struggling with the handcuffs like crazy, but suddenly and without eating a magic mushroom, he doubled up in strength to break out of this metal collar.
What CinemaSins is leaving out here is that the reason he was struggling was because he was being sedated, literally up to Godzilla taking him underwater.
It's not part of the 50-cent bargain for Kong to throw a jet at Godzilla, but it's equally worthless.
This is contradictory. Your logic was that the humans should already know of Godzilla's durability, but this is Kong's first interaction with him. Keep up with your own arguments, dude.
Kong and Godzilla kill a ton of innocents here, but they get passed, while Superman and Zod get taken to task.
Hey, look at that. CinemaSins is a fan of the Birdman. You might think this deserves a send off, but let me ask you, if CinemaSins knows Birdman, why doesn't he listen to Birdman? Huh? CinemaSins has taken to giving the movie 50 cents every time the humans shoot Godzilla with something. Their logic is, as I stated earlier, they believe it to be ineffective. Ineffective. Ineffective.
Ineffective.
Ineffective.
This won't end until one of them submits.
Thing my college girlfriend's roommate said while watching our first sex somehow made its way into the movie.
2 cents. One for first sex, and another for thinking literally anyone wanted to hear that.
Wait, this asshole's just leaving? Because they turned off the boats and Kong's taking an injury timeout? Surely Godzilla is smarter than that, right? Man, Zilla knows exactly how to inflate the runtime, doesn't he?
Godzilla doesn't want to kill King Kong. He just wants to put him down so that he's no longer a threat. This is demonstrated twice in this movie.
So they're just going to stand on this transport that's going over 600 miles an hour without being the least bit strapped in? I mean, I thought I was a badass on a subway train when I didn't have to hold on to the pole, but this is next level.
Jeremy still doesn't understand how special relativity works. After the initial acceleration, which would put their asses up against a wall, their inertial frame of reference would stabilize with the crafts and they would have a relatively pleasant experience. Have you ever flown on a plane? Yeah, those things reach a cruising speed of 500 to 600 miles per hour, and you can walk up and down the aisle no problem.
Sure, she is the only one that can talk to Kong, but I'm not sure that justifies bringing the first grader on the mission to the center of the fucking Earth.
Jeremy answers himself cliche, but also, Gia is their trump card because Kong refuses to let anything happen to this little girl. She's like kaiju Kevlar.
Let me see if I have this correct. They are currently inside the center of the Earth, which they correctly hypothesized was some kind of habitable, hollow, New Zealandish place where these giant titan animals might have originally come from. Are you trying to make me use my imagination? Because that's not going to work.
I think this scene perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with CinemaSins. They actually believe they are required to use their imaginations while watching a fucking movie. A movie, the thing that shows you everything it wants you to know. How do you hate books so much yet watch movies like you're reading?
Hey, that kaiju movie ripped off that robot kaiju thing from the other kaiju movie.
This man believes Mechagodzilla is a ripoff. That's worth these many cents.
This is why Godzilla attacked the Apex facility. They're trying to replace him.
Why? Does Godzilla have a union job?
Besides the joke that fell flatter than Wendy Williams' ass, they're trying to build something that can compete with other kaiju so that they don't have to rely on Kong or Godzilla. That's why the company's name is Apex. Get it? Dude, you have spent the last 5 minutes complaining about conventional weaponry being used against Godzilla, and you're here asking why?
Godzilla just made an abrupt change in direction. He's moving very fast. Projections show he's likely headed to Hong Kong.
When I went to watch this movie called Godzilla vs. Kong, I expected it to be a fight versus King Kong, not Hong Kong. This movie is like John Carter's Journey to the Center of Pacific Skull Island Ascending.
No, it's not.
Oh, he has a Stormbreaker, but with a testicle handle.
Jeremy says boner buddies.
It's the axe. It's drawing radiation from the core like it's charging.
You see, this axe needs a charge, so it glows blue. Then Kong finds a place in the floor to charge his axe, and the floor lights up. Why it decides to do that now instead of 20 minutes ago when Kong picked up the axe is beyond me, but it's perfect timing for everything that's going on in the movie, so who am I to judge? Oh, that's what we do here. Sorry.
The axe lights up because of Godzilla's presence. Dude, watch the movie.
So Godzilla responds to the energy call from Hollow Earth, and his death breath reaches all the way down there through all the crust and mantle and all that and just coincidentally doesn't hit the good guys? Are you joking?
I'm having a hard time understanding what the point of this sin even was. Was it about his atomic breath reaching Hollow Earth, or it not harming the protagonists? Because I can't tell which one is stupider. The movie clearly shows Godzilla aiming for a particular spot, and that spot happens to be the throne of Kong's people. So why would the protagonists be in that spot for literally any reason?
Also, is the movie saying that Godzilla's directly over the energy source in Hollow Earth? Or, under it? Or am I not thinking fourth dimensionally enough to understand how he can do this?
In space, there is no such thing as up or down, or any direction for that matter. The reason we have terms like up or down is related to our position on the Earth's surface and gravity. Gravity causes objects with less mass to be attracted to an object with a larger mass, and those lesser objects will fall towards the center of that larger object. On Earth, this translates to the down direction for one person being the up direction for someone else on the other side of the planet. So technically, this sin has no meaning, but from Godzilla's perspective, it's under him.
This fight ain't half bad, but who are we supposed to root for? And there's no way either of them are gonna die, so this fight has about as much at stake as the ones in Captain America Civil War.
Likes the fight, sins it anyway. And I love the justification too. He doesn't know who to root for. You would think a movie making it difficult to choose a side would be a win because it has accomplished its goal of making its characters nuanced. But no, Jeremy needs his hand held, so I'll help him out. Godzilla is clearly this movie's villain. They have done all the legwork to make you sympathize with the more human-like King Kong, and Godzilla has been killing humans, people with families, and people that care about them. And one last thing. Civil War absolutely had stakes. It wasn't about the characters dying, dumbass. It was about the fracturing of the relationships that had been built up until that point. The events of that movie are literally why the Avengers lose to Thanos. Saying Civil War had no stakes in 2021 is like saying Batman v Superman would outgrow Civil War.
Kong's energy axe sucks in Godzilla's energy breath, and we are learning about these capabilities on the fly. I guess it's fun?
Considering Kong's axe is made from a scale of one of Godzilla's ancestors, it's obvious the movie is suggesting Godzilla and his race are impervious to atomic breath radiation and are instead powered by it. The previous movie explicitly stated that Godzilla is empowered by nuclear blasts. This didn't come from nowhere.
Looks like round 2 goes to Kong.
How do you know that it's round 2? You just got here.
So did King Kong, numbnuts. Or did you just forget they all came out of the hole together?
Godzilla had left us in peace. You provoked him into war.
By building a robot Godzilla? That's not a provocation for war. Yes, they connected the Robotzilla to the skull of the dead Gidmoraki Anistan, but if you're going to start telling me all these Titans can mind sense when other Titans are being experimented on, I'm going to tell you to lick my shoe. Preferably just after I remove it from your ass.
How is it even remotely possible to watch the 4th movie in this franchise and still not understand that the kaiju emit radiation the other kaiju are attracted to? That's literally the plot point for King Kong in this movie.
It's not that I don't enjoy monsters beating monster ass. I've seen it so many times by now, and neither of these two have provoked much of an emotional connection in me. It's just punching and bright lights and loud roars. It does nothing for me.
And that's a sin for you, because clearly you're dead inside.
This is basically the giant monster version of the villain expositing their entire plan to the hero instead of just killing them and ending it already.
Or this is the movie showing you what I told you earlier. Godzilla doesn't want to kill King Kong. He wants him to submit.
I thought he was a killbot designed to kill Godzilla, but then he killed his maker and is now up here killing humans. And even though Godzilla was just killing humans himself, I guess he's going to switch sides solely because of a metal doppelganger showing up? Is that what's really happening? Well, I guess Kong and Zilla will kill the bot and fist bump and divvy up the earth into halves that they can each rule?
This man has been watching this movie, making jokes about the Ghidorah skull, literally saw Ghidorah take over Mechagodzilla's body, and is still asking why is Mechagodzilla killing humans. And if that wasn't enough, he then asks, why does Godzilla change sides As if the entire reason Godzilla has been sticking his dick in humanity's ass wasn't because of Apex housing Ghidorah's skull. You know, the thing piloting Mechagodzilla right now.
Missiles don't work on Godzilla, but they still built a ton of missiles into the Mechagodzilla.
Says missiles don't work, shows footage of the missiles working.
Literally the end of the last Harry Potter movie, only with giant lizards instead of giant wizards.
Jeremy sends a beam struggle. Besides, a better reference would have been Vegeta's Gallic Gun versus Goku's Kaioken Kamehameha.
She signs Godzilla not enemy, and that's great and all, but when did she and Kong work out a sign for Godzilla?
The sign Gia is using is roughly the sign for dinosaur. See?
That's teamwork.
Jeremy ruins music in a video cliche.